call the City Council meeting to order. And if you are able at this time, please rise for our national anthem, which will be followed by our land acknowledgement.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The Niagara region is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations such as the Hattaway-Wendourok, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Port Colborne stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Next, we have our adoption of the agenda. We do have a few additions tonight. We have one delegation, and also under bylaws, the appointment by bylaw for the new chief building official, which is back in the back. The confirmatory bylaw was also renumbered because of the additional bylaw, and items 13.1 and 13.2 will be switched tonight. So report 2025-152, community engagement on proposed short-term rental accommodations bylaw will go first under items requiring separate discussion. If I could have Councillors Hoyle and Deutsch move the council agenda dated July 4th, 2025. July 4th. It's the 8th. Be confirmed as amended. Only reading what you guys write. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Are there any disclosures of interest? At this time, we have a public meeting for the Elmvale Crescent Stop Up and Close. So we can turn this over to Mr. Long, and then we'll get into our motion.
Good evening, Council. Through you, Mayor Steele, I'll call my colleague Bram Cotton to conduct proceedings.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this public meeting is to go through the stop up and close process through the Municipal Act. This is a requirement of the Municipal Act to have a public meeting. We have advertised the stop up and closed in the newspaper for 4 consecutive weeks. Elmville, the road allowance in Elmville is no longer required for city business. There's no function for it. There's no need for it. So we'd like to do a stop up and close in order to potentially move this to future disbursement.
Okay. Questions to Mr. Cotton, Councillor Bruno?
Thank you, Worship, through you to Bram. Bram, one of the things I had been asked by one of the residents on the nearby street, do you know when we put that up for sale, whether it will be R1 or how are we going to list it? I understand that any buyer can, after the fact, come and propose something different, a rezoning, but how will we be marketing that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruno, we'd be looking at it as an R1, which would be similar to the subdivision of which it is in.
Okay, Councillor Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Bram. Looking at the picture, I'm going to assume there's an alternate route for the farm field.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Aquilina. Yes, so that was left there in order to have a route into that for future residential development. The residential development that has come forward has multiple routes into it, coming from the east-west. So therefore, it does have multiple entrances in and out, so that's why that is no longer required. And we do not want a road running through that residential subdivision, creating more traffic through there. So that's one of the reasons we've decided to do stop loss and close and potentially sell it as a residential lot.
Perfect, thank you.
Further questions? With regards to the stopping up of Elmvale Crescent, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this particular item? Okay, thank you. So at this time, if I could have Councillors Bagu and Bodnar move that Development and Government Relations Report 2025-118 be received, that the Economic Development Officer be directed to bring forward a stop up and close bylaw for the unnamed street PL 888 Port Colborne, lying N of Elmvale Crescent, lying north of Elmvale Crescent, Port Colborne, and reserve lot 90 PL 888 Port Colborne as shown in Appendix A and Appendix B to a future meeting of council for consideration. Further questions? All in favor? That's carried. This ends the public meeting. We have one proclamation this evening. It's World Hepatitis Day, July 28th, 2025. If I could have Councillors Aquilina and Elliott move. Therefore, I, Bill Steele, Mayor of the City of Port Colborne, do hereby proclaim July 28th, 2025, World Hepatitis Day in Port Colborne. Questions? All in favor? That's carried. Presentations, we have an update from Brock University. We welcome Brock here this evening on their new strategic plan, Transforming People, Reimagining the Future. We have the president of Brock University, Dr. Leslie Rigg, tonight to present on Brock's new strategic plan, and we'll have Dr. Rigg come up. Welcome.
I found the button. I passed the first test. So thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Steele, and thank you to the Colborne City Council. I was about to call you a faculty council. You know, I'm really pleased to be joining you here this evening to provide an update, not just on Brock's strategic plan, but on the activities that Brock has, the exciting activities, I would say, that we are taking on for this coming year, and the work that we've done so far with Port Colborne and the region. I think, personally, it's truly an exciting time to be not just a part of Brock, but to be living here in Niagara. I came from, I don't say I came from away, but I grew up in Toronto. And Niagara was that place that you went through to get to Niagara Falls. And I think that what I've learned and what I know that many people know is that Niagara is an amazing place to live. It's an amazing place to learn for our students, and then to have them stay and contribute to the economic prosperity of this region. So, if I could have the next slide. I realized that was a picture of me with Mayor Ugolini. It should have been with you.
He's a good.
Okay, I'll tell him that. So I think many of you probably know that 60 years ago, Niagara residents joined together to advocate for a university to call their own. To me, this was an amazing story when I learned it, that the women and then the companies and the individuals in Niagara in the late 50s and 60s gathered together and donated into a fund. And that fund was then taken to the government to say, we have $5 million saved up. What will you put forward to create a university in Niagara? And so studying locally meant that more talent could be retained in the region, local industry could count on a highly trained workforce, and more innovation could happen right here in Niagara. The intrinsic value of a university was definitely immeasurable to this community. In September 1964, Brock opened its doors, and we just finished celebrating our 60th anniversary, as many of you know. And the explicit goal in 1964 remains true today, the goal of serving the educational needs of the Niagara community. We look a little different today than we did then, but we're still dedicated to the same mission. So if I can have the next slide. In addition to 120,000 Brock alumni who contribute to the local community in vast ways, there are over 2,100 full-time staff and faculty at Brock University that live in the Niagara region. And 50 of them, 48, we'll round up to 50, call Fort Colborne home. So that's 120,000 alumni that have walked across the graduation stage at the university who now live all over the world and know the story of not just Brock, but the story of Niagara. One interesting fact or statistic that we have recently put together is that when we look at the student population of Brock, 28%, only 28%, I was surprised at how low it is, 28% of Brock's students are from Niagara. That means a lot of people come from somewhere else. Of all the students that are at our university, 40% of them intend to stay. So when only 28% come from the region, but 40 intend to stay, Brock University ends up being a driver of economic growth, prosperity, change, diversification in the community. I was pretty excited to read that statistic. If I can get the next slide, please, that would be great. That number there is annually. Brock contributes $1.3 billion in economic impact every year in the Niagara region. And if we expand it out to Ontario's economic landscape, it's $2.4 billion. But we've got lots of other great things going on, and many of them you'll see in the pictures in the slide. We opened the Brock Niagara Validation, Prototyping, and Manufacturing Institute. This is an institute that is connected to the community. We take researchers who we have on our campus, and we connect them with industries who are having issues, problems, and need high quality instrumentation and research know-how to get to a solution. And so we're really excited to make that connection, and it is doing amazingly. In fact, we have doubled the intake of clients or industries who need help in this past year. So it's a growing business. We've launched the Integrated Engineering Program. This was a promise that we made in 1964 when we opened our doors, that we would provide engineering solutions to the Niagara region and direct infusion of students who had trained at Brock as engineers. We have made that promise come true 60 years on, but we did. Last fall was the first set of students that came through our door, and we are one of only 3 programs in all of Canada to offer an integrated engineering program. And integration brings mechanical, electrical, and software engineering together. We also, you'll see the picture there. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. I can't do my left and my right. It's all of us holding a little picture of something. Yes, that's it. Thank you. And so that picture is of the Clean Agriculture and Sustainable Production facility that we will be building near our campus. It was a $7 million grant from the provincial and federal governments. It's the largest Canadian infrastructure grant that Brock has ever received. And the total project will be $10+ million. And it's dedicated to ag tech and agricultural advancement in the region. It will be a fantastic facility, and we look forward to welcoming you at its opening. The second consecutive Silver Stars rating for our sustainability efforts. Has anybody ever toured, I know you probably have, has anybody ever toured the tunnels at Brock University that are associated with how we manage our facilities and generate our electricity and power? If you haven't, the guys in facility are going to kill me. But I invite you all to come and tour the tunnels and see the amazing work that goes on behind the scenes, invisible to the public every day, that have enabled us to get that rating. We've increased the number of Brock graduates here staying and working in Niagara. And I would like to say we did that, but I will say you did that. you and everybody else in Niagara who welcome our students and make them want to stay here. And anybody who spends more than 2 weeks in Niagara knows why. And so I'm surprised that it's only 40% that intend to stay, because I think that number will go up over time. If I can have the next slide. We're especially proud of our experiential and co-op offerings. 100% of the programs, that's every program a student registers in, has the ability for that individual, that student, to benefit from experiential learning. Experiential learning, I think of it as getting your feet wet and your hands dirty. It's the way I learned, it's the way I enjoy learning, and so to know that at Brock, every single student has the ability to do that, to me is one of the things that makes Brock so special. Here's one of our accounting students, Ross Horsley, who completed his co-op right here at the city of Port Colborne. So there have been, in the past few years, 22 co-op placements here in the city. And so that is a phenomenal accomplishment, and we look forward to placing more and more as it is useful for you. You know, these things wouldn't happen without partnerships. These opportunities wouldn't come up for our students without the partnerships and the community input that we get. So we thank you, and honestly, I thank you for all of our students who have the opportunity to come here. So now to get on to our strategic plan, so if I can have the next slide. I won't spend a lot of time on this. You can link to it on our website, and you can go see it. But what I really wanted to highlight was that this was a plan that was consulted widely. You know, we had a strong foundation going in, but without the contributions from this community, from the communities across Niagara, from our alumni networks around the world, the plan that we have launched, that we launched this fall, would not be as strong and as meaningful as it is. So if I can have the next slide. We consulted a lot. We went out to people, and then we went again. And so 2,000 plus, I would say it probably is almost 3,000 by the time we reconsulted with individuals. We wanted to make sure that we knew what Brock University was meant to do. Because it was founded by the community, we know that its path has to be determined by the community. So it was absolutely imperative that we get feedback from as many groups as we possibly could. We asked one simple question at the outset. It was a really easy question that turned out to be really hard to answer, which is not really the intention of a university, but it sometimes seems that way. So the question was, why are we here? Why is Brock here? And the answer was critical to our continued success. And so if you can go to the next slide, please. It seems simple, but it's really a magical statement. Transforming people and reimagining the future. The answer that we got to that simple question was varied in language, but unanimous in sentiment. And this notion of transforming people and reimagining the future has never been more important than it is today, as the future becomes blurry in many ways, as technology is advancing so rapidly, as things around us are changing. It's imperative that we have students and community members who are ready and able to take up the challenge of what the future holds. So we do this through curiosity, creativity, and courage. And I have to say that courage is that special sauce. Courage is the thing that makes Brock a little bit different and our students a bit different. They say our motto is Surgite, which is to push on. And so this is what Brock, supposedly, those were his last words when he was about to die. He said, Surgite, push on. So we push on with courage, and it is what sets us apart. So if I can have the next slide. Most strategic plans have what we call values, but values seem to be insufficient for what we wanted to accomplish. So what we found was that all the things that people said were meaningful and at the core of what Brock does were really summed up in guiding principles. So champion one another, break down barriers, lead by example, and learn through curiosity. I think they're all self-explanatory, and there's lots more information on the website, but what I want to just spend a minute on is that learning through curiosity. because I'm a true believer that curiosity sparks discovery. Discovery is what creates innovation, or the doors open for innovation, and innovation is what changes the world. So this notion of curiosity is really important. It allows for fresh perspectives. It allows for us to link with community partners who have curiosity and need and want to work with us. It lets us embrace innovative ideas, and it challenges traditional approaches. Sometimes we have to think out of the box to find the solution, and curiosity is that genuine quest for knowledge. So if I can have the next one. No strategic plan is complete without directions. And directions allow us to focus, they allow us to refine what we're doing, they allow us to tighten our bootstraps or push forward in creative ways and expand in others, but they provide the bumpers. So shaping tomorrow through research, discovery, and knowledge is sort of that classic one. You know, we teach, we research, and that quest for knowledge is what universities do. We also are critical to build sustainable futures. And when we say sustainable futures, we're not talking just about the natural ecosystem associated with Lake Erie or the economic development and the future of our communities in a sustainable way, but also the fiscal and sustainable future of the university itself. So this is a very large bucket and a very important one. Realizing you matter. I think that one goes without saying, but I think it is really special to Brock. Unlike any other institution that I've worked at or visited, at Brock, you truly do matter. And it was something that we had a hard time getting our hands or our heads around how to phrase it. So we just wrote down what everybody kept saying. And so that's one of our strategic directions. And bringing Brock to the world and the world to Brock. This is absolutely crucial as we think about the economic future of our region and we think about the prosperity of a university. And I say prosperity in lots of different ways because we are a nonprofit organization, so we never want to make a profit, but we do want to be prosperous in our activity, in our teaching, in our research, in our community partnerships. So finally, I think that last point about bringing the world to Brock and Brock to the world, if I can have the next slide. This is a great example. And I traveled in the fall with Mayor Steele to Japan, and Asahi Kasei is an absolute stellar example of when you bring all the partners together within the region, including the educational institutions, our governments, our community, you can really make a huge difference. And so really, without all those groups collaborating together, we would not have been able to land this deal. And Port Colborne opened its doors and provided a venue that was appealing for so many reasons. Not just the beauty of the place, but everything, the talent that's here, the space, the industry, the entire package was what brought this company to this location. But I think we, as an institution, are committed to helping it be successful in this location. So we recognize the demands of advanced battery technology, and we're developing programs through the integrated engineering program to ensure that we are meeting the talent demands that they have. Our professional and continuing studies program is developing market-responsive education with them to help upskill and train all of Niagara's workers, but we have been specially working with Asahi Kasei and Port Colborne to answer some of the questions that they have around things such as English language attainment and other upskills for here in North America. So we are super excited to see this happen and to come to fruition. And it's partnerships like this, as I've said several times, that really will pave the way to allowing us to reimagine our future. So thank you. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us this evening, hearing about what we're doing at Brock, hearing about our strategic plan, and we are committed to continue working with you in every way that we possibly can. So thank you.
Leslie, great. And I can't say enough about Brock. I've had a sister that went there. She had a long career in teaching. My oldest son graduated from Brock, who's now a fireman here in Port Colborne. And that's just a small portion of this community that passes through those doors. But your work with us with Asahi Kasei has been instrumental. When we went there after the deal was signed, which was a good thing, and what we, sitting down with the schools near their plant in Moriama, what we brought to the table here in our group when we met executives from Asahi Kasei and having both yourself and Niagara College at the table did give them great comfort in all the things that you talked about. And those types of businesses don't come here unless we all pull in the same direction, and we all did, and that's why we came out on top, and you're a huge part of that. So we really want to appreciate that, and thank you for coming this evening. Council, any questions? Wow, you overwhelmed them. Councillor Baggio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one. Because I watch Brock University sports on TV lots of times, and you didn't mention anything about national championships coming up pretty soon. So figure I'd just let you know I'm watching.
And I think there will be a few people that might be upset that I didn't mention that. But yes, that's absolutely a key part. So are you coming to the Steel Blade? So that's an amazing event. So I'm not going to sell it because I think everybody knows. But the history of the blade itself is phenomenal. That somebody in our community donated to the school the trophy that is an actual sword from the War of 1812. It's pretty awesome.
It is.
But yeah, we're very proud of our
Get your tickets
sports.
now because that sells out quick.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And wear your Badger gear.
That's right.
We'll be watching.
And so we also have to thank your hockey program because they've done a number of events with us down here in Port Colborne at our Valet Center. The head coach of Windsor is a very good friend of mine, and we've brought Windsor down, and they've done a couple games, one
cool.
here in Port and the other one at your home rink in Thorold. So, the connections between the north end and the south end are very good between Port Colborne and Brock. So again, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you all. Have a productive meeting. Should I switch this off?
We have one delegation this evening. We have Dave Semley, who's here on report 2025-152, community engagement on proposed short-term rental accommodations bylaw. So Dave, if you want to come up to the podium, there's a red button there. We'll ask you to press that and just remind you of your 10-minute time limit. No, you're over here, Dave. Oh, sure, yeah. Take us $5, Gary. So Dave, just state your name and address for.
My name is David Semley, and I live at 2 Orchard Drive in Port Colborne. And I have been a resident of Port Colborne for around 71 years. So, good evening, Mayor, councilors, CAO, city staff, and all attendees. As I said, my name is David Semley, and I have been a resident of Port Colborne for 71 years. I'm here to speak to issues associated with short-term rentals. I, along with other permanent residents on Orchard Drive, as well as many other residents throughout the city, are very concerned with problems associated with uncontrolled short-term rentals. We are long-term, loyal, and supportive residents of the city. We deserve the quiet enjoyment of our properties in peace, safety, and tranquility. That status quo is being negatively impacted by short-term rentals. The following are examples of the dramatic negative impact that short-term rentals have on a neighborhood. In April of 2021, a neighboring residence on Orchard Drive was sold to an out-of-town buyer. The house was built in the 1960s and was occupied by the original family until April of 2021. It was built with 4 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms. The new owners advised neighbors of their plan to use the house as a summer home and eventually as a permanent residence. It is estimated that the new owners have occupied the home for less than 30 days since purchase. The house has been extensively renovated, including the conversion of a storeroom to a bedroom, the addition of a bathroom, various mechanical and electrical alterations, as well as cosmetic changes. It is apparent now that these changes were made to facilitate operation as a short-term rental. In May of 2024, we were made aware that the home was being offered as a short-term rental through Airbnb. With one exception, the neighbors were not advised of this change in use. The Airbnb website promotes the property as having a capacity of 14 to 16 guests, or up to 20 including children. Now keep in mind, the permanent population of Orchard Drive is only 12. So they outpopulate us by 8. During the weekend of June 2025, the property was occupied by an estimated 30 people. There were 11 cars in the driveway, at least one, perhaps two in the garage, and 2 to 4 additional vehicles parked on the street. A food delivery took place at 10:15 p.m. on June 21st, and the delivery driver could not gain access to the property because the driveway was clogged. So he decided to come up my driveway, delivered, and had somebody from the house come over, trespassed on my property, accepted delivery of the food, and returned. Obviously, that's not a tolerable situation for us. Street parking is also a safety concern, as it could impair emergency vehicle traffic and creates a risk for the many pedestrians that use the street. From June 29 to July 1st, the house was occupied by multiple families, totaling no less than 12 to 15 people. During the weekend of July 4th to 6th, the house was occupied by an estimated 14 to 18 people, including children. Again, keeping in mind there's only 12 permanent residents on the street. There were 7 cars parked in the driveway. These issues have only arisen in the past month, and they foreshadow many more problems in the future. The current owners of the Airbnb on Orchard Drive are non-residents. They have not occupied the dwelling on a temporary or permanent basis. They are renting the property to earn income. According to the Airbnb website, the weekly rental for that property is $10,000. So if they get 30 weeks of rental in a year, it's $300,000. And by virtually any definition, that is a business. And businesses are not allowed in residential areas. Our broader neighborhood has also experienced has had negative experiences with short-term rentals. An Airbnb in the neighborhood was rented to a group of more than 50 people from Toronto for a party. Between 35 and 40 cars were parked on the street and on area properties. Noise was excessive. It has been reported that police attended the scene 3 times and that order was only restored when the participants were threatened with arrest. There are no positive impacts resulting from short-term rentals in any residential neighborhood, except the financial benefits to the out-of-town owners. The negative impacts are numerous and overwhelming. They include reduction in the quiet enjoyment of long-term residents, destruction of community ambiance, decrease in property values, a decrease in public safety, an increase in noise, increased vehicular traffic, increased risk of crime, vandalism, and risk to property, increased danger to pedestrians and children, and I believe it has a negative impact on the Port Colborne brand. Permanent residents have the right to quiet enjoyment and to feel safe and secure on their own property. The presence of short-term rentals impacts that right. The interests of permanent residents must take priority over the interests of out-of-town owners, investors, and speculators. As part of its strategic plan, the City of Port Colborne included a mission statement which states that the mission of the City of Port Colborne is to provide an exceptional small-town experience in a big way. I fail to see how allowing short-term rentals to compromise safety, security, and quiet enjoyment, which are all part of a small-town experience, satisfy any part of that mission statement. In fact, short-term rentals do exactly the opposite. There are 4 possible solutions to the issue of short-term rentals. The ideal solution would be to simply prohibit short-term rentals in any residential area. This is simple, clean, and easily enforceable. It could be accomplished by a simple motion in council tonight. Secondly, the second option, pending introduction of an effective short-term rental control bylaw, for the city to put into effect a regulation preventing the operation by absentee landlords of short-term rentals in R1 residential areas of the city. The third option, in the event that the city is unwilling to implement one of the foregoing 2, and in order to minimize the current, ongoing, and future negative effects of short-term rentals, the city must bring into effect the draft short-term bylaw immediately and not wait until November. Again, this could be accomplished by a motion in council tonight to adopt the current draft bylaw with immediate implementation and effect. You got a new bylaw officer, that would give him good work to do. Future changes could be enacted by amendment. The fourth option, in the event that the city is unwilling to do 1, 2, or 3, is to simply introduce effectively sections 9.1 of the draft bylaw, the prohibitions. That could be brought into immediate effect. Specifically, any prohibition related to controlling occupancy, the number of non-registered guests, parking, noise, trespassing, security, public safety, waste disposal, etc., as well as any prohibition or regulation which is necessary to bring control to a completely uncontrolled situation. In this scenario, the licensing and inspection process would be effective as of November 1st. City council and staff have previously been provided a draft list of prohibitions which could be implemented immediately. They are attached as appendix number 1, which I believe you have a copy of. City council and staff has also been provided a list of proposed changes to sections 2 and 5 of the draft short-term bylaw, and these are attached as appendix number 2. As you're aware, adjacent municipalities have been very proactive in controlling short-term rentals. Those controls are now in effect. Short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods negatively impact the quiet enjoyment, safety, peace, and tranquility of permanent residents. City council and staff have an obligation to protect the interests of long-term residents of Port Colborne. Allowing uncontrolled short-term rentals to operate in residential areas of the city is contrary to that undertaking. Control must be brought, as I said previously, to a situation that is completely uncontrolled now. City council and staff are strongly encouraged to take immediate action and protect the interests of long-term, loyal, tax-paying residents of Port Colborne and not protect the financial interests of absentee non-residents.
Dave, you want to wrap it up? Your 10 minutes is here.
Wrapping up now.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your attention. I'm prepared to respond to any questions that you may have or provide additional comment at your request.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Questions to the presenter? Councilor Begg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Assembly. I appreciate you coming here. We've had discussions before, and not really a question, Mr. Mayor, but a comment. I do have the list you have, and
so this is question time. Comments will
Yeah.
come when we bring the report forward.
so just my other question is.
You have a question?
My question is, will you come back further when we get further along in this bylaw? I don't think it's going to be done by November, but we do.
It's not going
we
to
do
be done by
hope-
November?
I don't know. I do hope you come back if you would, to fine tune it.
To what effect? I mean, I can't believe it's taking this long to bring this bylaw into effect. Wayne Fleet's in effect, Fort Erie's in effect. Why isn't Port Colborne?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think Township of Wayfleets has legal litigation also, so I can't speak to that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none.
Could I just add one comment, Mr. Mayor, if I may?
No.
Thank
You're-
you.
Thanks, Dave. So David, that will be coming up under our first items requiring separate discussion, just so you know. Okay, so on to the mayor's report. So this evening, we'd like to welcome our newly appointed regional representative, Vance Badaway, who's no stranger to the chambers here. He sat here as a councillor and as a mayor, and now as our regional councillor. He's been here as our MP in the past, when he was served Port Colborne very well in Ottawa. So Vance, welcome back. Congratulations to our two high schools, classes of 2025. Parents and grandparents and families of our city's newest high school graduates have been beaming with pride for the past 2 weeks. On behalf of council, I attended the graduation ceremony at Lakeshore Catholic High School last week. I had the pleasure of presenting the City of Port Colborne Community Service Scholarship and Award to Sophia Sika. Sophia happens to be the granddaughter of former Member of Parliament and former Mayor John Maloney. Her whole family is very proud of her, as we are. Sophia serves on the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee and a dozen other committees between here and around Niagara, and works also at Beaujeu Pharmacy. On top of that, she's an A student. We congratulate Sophia for that award. Deputy Mayor Councillor Hoyle represented council at Port Colborne High School graduation held this year in the Italian Hall, which recently celebrated its 90 years. Deputy Mayor Hoyle was honored to present the Port Colborne Community Service Scholarship and Award on behalf of council to graduate Jacob Lataminski. We wish all scholarship recipients and all graduates a safe summer and a productive fall, whether you're headed to post-secondary education or into the workforce. Your parents and your city are proud of your accomplishments. Sunday afternoon was a sea of tie-dyed shirts, fringed vests, and bell-bottoms. The Port Colborne Historical and Marine Museum welcomed more than 500 guests to its 1970s picnic, another of the golden anniversary events celebrating 50 years since the museum opened. The Strong Water Singers opened the afternoon event with singing and drumming. All the museum's curators were there: Heather Ott, Virginia Anger, Stephanie Powell-Baswick, and current curator Michelle Mason. More than 200 picnic lunches were sold, and we thank Back Road Barbecue Company for that. And many, many gallons of lemonade and cold water were served. And everyone enjoyed a slice of fresh, refreshing watermelon. We thank the Market Cafe for the watermelon, as it was a hot day and people really got into the spirit of the celebration. Visitors enjoyed the exhibits inside each of the buildings of the museum. There were crafts and games outside of the grounds. There were 1970s activities such as pet rock painting, a tie-dye station, and a dress-up station for photos. And we thank Port Colborne Optimist for running the games. Classic cars covered the field between the museum and the library. We really appreciate the efforts of Terry Huffman for coordinating the perfect cars for a perfect day. The talented and artistic staff at the museum created banners featuring the names and sponsors and patrons, to whom we are very thankful. Members of council and I are extremely proud of the work our museum staff and volunteers do to preserve our culture and heritage in a welcoming and engaging way. You make local history not only educational, but very fun. 3 cheers to members of the 50th Anniversary Celebration Committee. A film crew from Reflector will be in Port Colborne this week to film the buildings and gardens at the museum. It's the same film crew which chronicles the Royal Botanical Gardens in Hamilton. Many thanks to the Master Gardeners of the Port Colborne Garden Club for accommodating the video shoot, and more importantly, for tending the beautiful gardens on museum grounds. Between the Garden Club and the city's landscaping crew, our parks and gardens, flower beds and flower pots are flourishing beautifully this year. And a well done and thank you to all of you. Members of the Port Colborne Optimist Club outdid themselves another year with a celebration of our country's 158th birthday at the annual Canada Day in the Park event July 1st. That's coming up. The Optimists do an amazing job of community building and supporting local youth and local traditions. Congratulations to organizers and their volunteers. It was a great day. Get set for another great day next Wednesday, July 16th, when Splashtown presents Big Brothers Big Sisters Day. All proceeds from your fun at Splashtown in the water off Nickel Beach support Big Brothers Big Sisters Niagara. Make some waves next Wednesday for a great cause. Donut King Scott Wolf and his crew will cook hundreds of dozens of Lions donuts over 4 days, one of the most popular traditions of the annual carnival. The 94th annual Lions Carnival starts Thursday at 6 p.m. in Lionsfield on Clally Street in Elm. Since 1931, Port Colborne Lions presented the local carnival with rides, midway games, all kinds of draws, with the major raffle prize, a brand new car. And our newly minted regional councillor Vance Battery, who was mayor 1 year, actually pulled his own winning ticket to win a car. Remember that, Vance? I remember standing next to you and you holding it up going, I can't believe what just happened. All proceeds from the carnival are reinvested back into our community. We a huge thank you to the Port Colborne Lions for decades of memories since all of us here on council were kids. Remember that, Councillor Baggio? You probably used to ride that red rocket that used to sit in the corner every Canal Days. It was a wooden ride. It was treacherous. Our community concert series, sponsored by Asahi Kasei Battery Separator Canada, is rocking summer nights again this year. Last Friday, we welcomed Hot Wax Meltdown to the band shell at H.H. Knoll Lakeview Park, where they were cheered by a very large crowd. It was great to have the Port Colborne Downtown Cruises Association as they showed off their classic vehicles. There are more fabulous shows to come. Please mark your calendars. The Bomb brings a retro 80s experience on July the 18th. Strictly Hip. I think you know that band, Councillor Hoyle. I think your cousin is the lead singer in that. An area favorite. They play the Tragically Hip on August the 15th. And the Caverners, another popular band, plays Beatles Nostalgia on August the 29th. And Taylor's Story closes the summer concert series with the much-loved music of Taylor Swift on September the 12th. And again, we're grateful to Asahi Kasei for their sponsorship and to everyone who comes out for the summer fun. And as a reminder, admission to all the concerts is free. We ask for a donation of a non-perishable food item for the Port Cares Reach Out Centre. You'll notice some symbols of Canada Days adorning council chambers this evening. We thank our museum and our City Hall staff for putting this up. And as a reminder, council, if you put the hat on, you buy it. Okay, that's the rule. You can take it home with you. Put it on, you buy it, because they all got to go back to the museum. The red banners, which you see out in front here, were once volunteer t-shirts approximately 20 years ago, and they've been cut and sewn into decorative flags. You can purchase the sailor hats, actually known as sailor gobs, at the museum. The glass buoys are also available at the museum, where there are official Canal Days t-shirts and all kinds of canal souvenirs. We're just over 3 weeks away from our Canal Days Marine Heritage Festival, presented by GeoRail, with non-stop fun throughout the civic holiday weekend from August the 1st to the 4th. Concert headliners include Sloan, Big Sugar, Finger 11, and the Trews. Beyond rock and roll in the park, there will be tons of other activities, including the much-anticipated return of the Empire Sandy Tall Ship, which offers cruises throughout the weekend. Members of council and I extend many thanks to our presenting sponsor, GeoRail, as well as to the other over 60 sponsors that have come on board for Canal Days. Their commitment to our community is inspiring. We ask if you need anything to know on Canal Days, please visit canaldays.ca. And don't forget the fireworks on Sunday night. And as I always say to my good friend Jim Diodati from Niagara Falls, if you really want to see a good fireworks show, come to Port Colborne. So that concludes my report this evening. Any questions, Council? Councillor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. Really a comment and a question, but I don't expect an answer tonight on this. Last council meeting, I spoke about the issue of the west side of West Street, the dockage issue that we're having. And you and others were going to come back with perhaps a strategy or where citizens could get involved. I did want to, though, take this time because it was under an item talking about that under Mayor's report. I inadvertently chastised the Seaway for doing too little, too late with that walkway that gets people from the boats to the Clarence Street Bridge. There's a pergola that just get them over. Well, I came to find out subsequent to that meeting that they didn't actually do that. They actually have done nothing. The city of Port Colborne, through Greg office, actually put that in. So, and I don't know if anyone here has a number to that, but I mean, it's just a sad case where we had to accommodate people because they haven't fixed the wharf on the other side of the canal. And I just think it just adds to the fact that I'm looking forward to some methods where we can get the citizens involved, our new MP, anybody that can help get a long overdue promise completed. But I just wanted to add that under you that thank the city for doing it. Again, I don't know what the costs were. I wasn't aware that we did it. I don't know other councilors were. But thankfully, we've done something where an upper level of, well, they're not really a government, but it has millions of dollars, could have done something for us, even that intern step. And it's a sad situation that we had to do. And I know the Seaway provides a number of services to us. This one here in its help with Canal Days, but you can't just ride that one thing. They've really got to step up to the table. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to that.
Thank you, Councillor. And we also have to thank Snyder Dock Services and QSL who leased that property. So they were a great partner in that program with Greg Higginbotham. It's funny you say, we actually had a meeting today. We met and we're bringing Regional Councillor, almost called you MP, Regional Councillor Badaway up to date on what's going on between Port Colborne and the region and projects. But we also sat in, Vance was there with a meeting with our MP Davies, and we did talk about the canal. As you know, when Vance was MP, we didn't receive it, but Port Colborne through the Seaway for wharfs 18, 2, and 3 received $23 million. So it's not only that, it's actually wharf 17. What we've done is we had a great meeting today. We gave a lot of information to the MP to take back. Vance and I will continue to work on the marine side of things and our connections in Ottawa with regards to the walls here. We've also engaged, and Mr. Cotton has put out some dates that we're going to reconvene our marine operators meeting that we had probably about 3 months ago. I think we met basically the dock operators within Port Colborne, which includes Algoma, Snyder's, HOPA, QSL, Allied Marine. Just trying to think who else was there. That might have been it at that time. Anyways, we've reconvened that group again to sit down and really go through more strategy from our last ask, which was they were originally going to close 17. They've pulled that back. They are not. Allied Marine is now has a North American contract for a new engine that's designed in Europe, and they have the exclusivity of it for Canada and the United States. So it's a big boon to Port Colborne with that company and the new jobs that'll come here and the expansion of that plant on the canal wall. So that is progressing forward, and we know with Vance's time at the Ministry of Transport in Ottawa, and we know he has to be careful because he's, there are things when they no longer hold their seat that, but he can still guide us and help us with the proper channels and make sure that at those meetings we bring the information forward that needs to be done. So go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. That's a great update in 2 weeks. So appreciate the effort and Godspeed.
Yeah, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, for his first report to Port Colborne Council, and I'm sure not his last, welcome again, Regional Councillor Badaway, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I first want to say to all of you, it's good to be back. It's good to be back home. It's been 10 years away, traveling not just parts of Canada, but across the world, dealing with different issues, not only with respect to my constituency, but also with Canadians. Which brings me to my second point. I want to thank all of you for extending to me your confidence and placing me on a regional council to deal with everything Port Colborne at the regional council table. But also thank the many others throughout the years, not only the council, not only the different levels of government, but more importantly, the volunteers and the people that we see here in the gallery that give of their time to expand the interests of the city of Port Colborne, and of course that being to benefit the entire region of Niagara, the province, and the country. Yes, I did have my first meeting the other day at the region. We had a regional council meeting that was a little bit dry, but it's summertime, so we'll allow that. But we then had a budget meeting that we dealt with capital budget, and with that, looking at some of the challenges that the region are in. And I look forward to getting into my following meetings, the third, fourth, especially with respect to budget, to look at some solutions that we can come forward with to deal with the capital challenges that they're running into right now. Everything Port Colborne, I think going forward, and I was asked by the media today what are some of my priorities going to the region. And it's not just having to do with government, but it's having to do with lifestyle here in our community. And I think what's first and foremost in front and center of all our minds right now is healthcare. The UCCs, both in Port Colborne and Fort Erie, as well as healthcare in general as it relates to primary care and critical care here in the Niagara region, and how important it is to us to work together, yes, politically, but more importantly as a community, to ensure that the province hears loud and clear what their expectations are when it comes to our UCCs and primary care attached to our UCCs. Secondly is infrastructure. We want to ensure that the piece of the pie that everyone's grabbing for at the region, that we get our fair share. And therefore, a lot of the emphasis that is placed on your budget, our budget here in the city of Port Colborne, whether it be operational or capital in nature, is shared not only through the residents of Port Colborne, but the region. So we want to ensure that that piece of the pie we're going to get our hands on, and we'll benefit from it, not just from the obvious, looking at the obvious reasons in terms of less of an impact on Port Colborne taxpayers and water and wastewater bills, especially when it comes to the water wastewater bills and the capital side with the capital fixed rate, but also to really ensure that the growth that we're experiencing here in the city of Port Colborne and the costs attached to that growth are shared, not just by the developers in the city of Port Colborne, but by all those that are going to benefit throughout the region of Niagara. Finally, I do want to thank Brian today and yourself, Mr. Mayor, for the meeting. It was very, very informative. It's a pleasure actually to sit around that table back there called Committee Room 3 and involve everybody. It's a team effort. Our new MP as well as the MPP, and of course myself as your regional councillor, Mr. Mayor, you and our respective teams at all levels of government. So with that, once again, thank you to all of you for extending me the opportunity. I appreciate your confidence, and I'm a phone call away. Anything you folks need, and that goes to the public as well, again, just call. We have a lot of work to do. I look forward to doing it together here in the chamber, but as well at the region and across the community. You will, in fact, see me at your council meetings. I will, in fact, have regular reports for you for two reasons, not only to keep you informed, but more importantly, to engage and ensure that what I'm doing up at the region isn't just me and the mayor, but it's all of us together as a Team Port Colborne approach, and then therefore working at a Team Niagara approach to ensure that the interests of everyone are being dealt with swiftly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Now, don't all put your hands up first, so I'll ask for questions. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Baggio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Easy one. You mentioned people to call you. What's your telephone number?
905-714-4237. That's my cell number, 24/7. It's on my hip.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bruno.
Thank you. Actually, Mark, Councillor Baggio just stole my first line. It'd be refreshing to have the regional councillor's telephone number. So thank you very much. You're off to a great start versus how we've had it. Vance, I'm glad you came forward because I think, like was expressed by a lot of councillors, we're in the latter quarter of this term, 15, 16 months left. And to have somebody with your experience and having been at the region and know the issues in Port Colborne is a blessing because you can hit the ground running. And that's not a slight to others that put their names forward, but I think it was a very common theme that to have somebody who wouldn't have a learning curve at the region and could hit the ground running is great. Glad you've already had a briefing. I didn't want to have to mention any other points that you have already brought up after talking to Brian and the mayor. So congratulations, good luck. Thank you for putting your name forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
vance.badaway@niagararegion.ca is the email address. Should have asked that. Okay, seeing no further questions, we have the consent agenda. We have Councilors Bruno and Councilor Bagu. They've lifted items 12.3B and 12.3C. They will be considered as items 13.4 and 13.5 under items requiring separate discussion. And Councilor Bagu has lifted item 12.4C under correspondence, which will be considered as item 13.6. Any other items that need to be lifted? Seeing none, if I could have Councilors Beauregard and Elliott move that Council hereby approves the listed consent items on July 8, 2025 Council agenda, and that the consent items be approved on the recommendations as contained therein. All in favor? That's carried. So item 13.1 is first. It's community engagement on proposed short-term rental accommodations bylaw 2025-152. If I could have Councilors Bodnar and Aquilina get this on the floor. The Chief Administrative Officer Report 2025-152 be received. The Council directs staff to revise the proposed bylaw to license, regulate, and govern short-term rental accommodations in Port Colborne, which is Appendix A, with specific adjustments related to limitations on the number of renters and guests, garbage management and requirements, and the number of required parking spaces. And that Council directs staff to bring forward a finalized bylaw to license, regulate, and govern short-term rental accommodations in Port Colborne at the September 9th, 2025 Council meeting. Questions? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, to staff, I guess, with regards to Mr. Semley's presentation, bears the question, why can't we get it passed more quickly?
CAO?
Yeah, through the mayor to the councillor and and I guess not to the presenter, but with respect to the presenter's questions, I've expressed my thoughts to the presenter as well in advance, and it's something that I think council has to think about is when going through a process like this, it's very important to have that process in case there's a challenge as you go through. We've noticed that with example, Tiny's bylaw, they were recommended and it was very complimentary when they did get challenged on the process that they went through, and it helped them uphold that their bylaw. And they actually won the challenge as it went through. Other municipalities haven't necessarily done that. So I have expressed my understanding of where the presenter's position is and the need to move as fast as possible. The complexity that I have to caution council with doing it faster than maybe what the process would, we have our lawyers doing final review right now, is that it has the potential to open us up for not just logistically implementing it, but also legal challenge going forward. There are complexities because some recommendations to move forward, for example, you can't zone via licensing. You can find yourself in human rights when all of a sudden you have issues when you're saying you want within so many meters, you can't do certain things. So it is not necessarily just a walk in and get this done. This is a very complex model to move through. Although I completely feel for where the residents are, and I know that's why council is pushing, and we've worked in these past months to get it to where we are today. So it's not that staff doesn't want to do it faster. Staff would recommend to council that we stick with the timeline. And I know that's not what the presenter or those that have come to want to hear. And it's not what staff wants to give as the direction either. It's just, if we don't, I caution council that we risk complexities if we get challenged down the road which will maybe not achieve the long-term benefit that everybody's looking for. And I think everybody's read the report. And when you read, for example, I think question 6, you'll see how polarized the responses were on the questionnaire. And I will be the first to say questionnaires aren't the perfect end-all and be-all. But everybody was on the strongly opposed, and everybody was on the strongly supported. So there's a lot of people on both sides of the argument, which makes this a difficult one to rush. And I know the lawyers are working through the final components. So our next council meeting is at the end of August, but we'd recommend it's the first council meeting in September, that we would have everything ready, approved. We will start the process of talking to short-term rentals. We already do because of the MAT. We are talking, we're making sure that they know that this is coming, so that way they're ready for it. If I was to give council a thought, something that we could do right now is, like, staff would welcome a recommendation for staff or direction for staff to start the process of hiring up bylaw staff for this, because this program will pay for the bylaw staff to enforce it. And it's going to take time to do that. And the sooner we have approval to start moving forward, and I realize that we're saying that once we finalize the bylaw, we'll know what the final budget is and we can come back. But if council gave staff direction today to start at least hiring a bylaw officer for this, we could start that and have additional support for those with short-term, that live in short-term communities faster than if we don't.
Councilor? Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Brian. So I guess was a semi-answer to my next question is, what do we do in the interim to give people the peace that they need from the Airbnbs that are going to be next door? Obviously, Mr. Semley had photos and real-life story about what was happening. That can't be the only one that's going to happen in town, unfortunately. So how do we get in front of this without the entire bylaw being passed? We need to be able to be mobile and go and stop what's happening before it gets out of hand. We owe that to our residents. There's got to be a mechanism that if it takes a bylaw officer hiring, that when something's going on, residents make a call and we react to the call to go and investigate. And we need to do that. That's not, let's think about it. That's something that we need to do. If this bylaw is not going to be passed until into September, and then by the time we get going in November, and then we're into next year. So we need something done for this summer until the end of the year. So I'd be interested to hear what other councilors have to say about that, but I'm all in favor of, if it takes a hiring, let's hire the person and hire them quickly.
So, Mr. Bowles, with regards to our budget, I think it's going to be needed more than just direction when you're going for that. It's going to have an amendment, either an amendment to this one or a separate motion after we deal with this one, which is fine. But with that, are you going to need from now until our next meeting to bring a report back that actually says that? Or based on our budget today, do you have confidence that we can move forward and make that hiring?
Yeah, through to the mayor, and to council, staff have confidence that we can manage it within the time period until we go live with the program. Because when we go live with the program, remember that bylaw officer will be paid for completely by the program. This has to be self-sustaining. And my comments and conversations with the presenter, and it's if these individuals that run a short-term rental are going to run the business, they should be incurring the cost that comes with running that business, right? So I would put to council that if we end up having a month or two where we have to carry it within the bylaw budget, we'll be able to manage that. And then we'll move it over once we approve the bylaw and have the cost on that side. We'd appreciate, and we can look to the clerk if we need to do a recommendation adjustment or however we wish to move forward. But I had spoken to the new CBO today, and this was his recommendation to let's put another bylaw officer out there right now. We are limited, and there's 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. we don't have enough bylaw officers to cover that, and that's one of the biggest asks is when there's a problem, residents want somebody to call. And if they don't have somebody to call, that's what leads to greater frustration.
So Councillor, I'm gonna come back to you with that for an amendment, only because you wanted to hear from other councillors.
Yeah.
So we can add them in, in case there's anything else that somebody may want to tweak. Further questions? Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you. I'd be happy to second whatever Dave comes up with or we need to do. But hiring a bylaw officer is a smart move. We probably should have done that a while ago, but today's a good day too. And thank Mr. Semley for coming forward and expressing concerns that that we've been hearing. And there's a short-term rental not too far away from my place that's been problematic. So that's kind of why I'd like to see this thing done sooner rather than later. So I'll leave it at that for right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Aquilino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in agreement as well with the bylaw officer. But can we review that once it's in place to see if there's potential that we might need to hire another? Because I think this is going to be bigger than what we're expecting. My second question is, in this report, I didn't see anything about sun retreats. And I know that in the past, we've talked about having a separate process for them. So would I be able to get an update on what that's going to be looking like?
Yeah, through the mayor to the councillor, it actually, I think it's in section 13. And it's not specific to sun retreats. It's specific to the zoning of that type of property. So in that section, it is proposed in the bylaw that we would, provided they provided the information of who's renting and the frequency and that they would be able to set within their guidelines of their operations, the number of individuals that they allowed to rent one of their trailers, bedrooms and parking spots. They would still have to follow all the fire codes. They'd have to follow all the safety requirements. But with respect to the number of people, because it's within that set area and they've been doing it, there would be a bit of a trade-off that provided that they provided that information so we understood it, so that way we can prepare for it from a city's perspective, then they would be able to do that. We left them in the bylaw, and there is still conversation about potentially taking some of the stuff and moving it to a separate one down the road. But right now, it was felt in working with legal that keeping everybody on the same bylaw was going to be a lot easier to explain to everybody.
Thank you. And then, so they would be, the owners of the trailers would be required to purchase the license as well, just like everybody else?
Yeah, through the mayor to the councillor, yes. And we had a great staff meeting, so we've had fire, bylaw, planning, clerks, and we've tried to look at the different type of units. So we will be coming back to council and we bring this back with the pricing for the licenses. And the license pricing will run anywhere most likely in the 900 range, right up to a couple thousand if you're licensing in, for example, a condo. Because if you're licensing in a condo, what was very interesting as we went through the processes, the fire department has to sign off on the safety plan with respect to the whole condo, not just your unit. So there's additional work that would be required in a situation like that. So we're going to have differentiated fees for the differentiated type of units.
Okay. And then just to Councillor Bodner's point there, I do want to thank Mr. Semley for sending the email as well, because there's a short-term rental near my house as well that has the same issues with over parking, the dumpster, is full of trash and overflowing all the time with up to, potentially 26 people staying in the the home. So, I think most counselors feel your pain, and the other residents' pain as well. And I do appreciate taking the time and doing this right. So I look forward to what comes in September.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Begg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also agree with Councilor Elliott. A new bylaw officer, I just don't know, is this bylaw officer gonna be available 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, or is somebody gonna be available when, there's a problem on one of our short-term rentals we haven't regulated yet, but there are other regulations we can get around. I know that, but parking is noise, violations. But, also, there was some things, I read the short-term rentals again, but I don't recall anything about trespassing, like when you put the rules for a short-term rental, especially on lakefront, where our lakefront properties goes to the water's edge, and there are boundaries on your property. I know in that area, another former B&B, people were just walking along the whole beach across other people's properties, and that was difficult. But by making the owner of the B&B responsible for the rules and regulations of the municipality and the trespassing act and all stuff like that, like we have certain bylaws here, parking on the street and stuff like that, that we make it mandatory that it has to be in that agreement at whoever's renting signs. And so when the whole thing comes back, I'd like to see the whole package, Mr. Mayor, the fines, everything, not just the bylaw. So I know it's going to be an extensive novel, but we dot our i's and
Cross our T's.
Cross our T's, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
CAO.
Just through the mayor, 100%, as was planned, we'll bring back the full budget with the fees at that time as well, because council will have to approve them as we move them into the AMP system. So that will happen. And I think what's important just to note is with respect to the bylaw, if you're going to be a short-term rental, you still have to follow the bylaws of the rest of the city. So if anybody's coming in and using, so if whether we have a noise or a nuisance or a trespassing, et cetera, all of those laws and regulations still have to be followed. So just because something might not be written out doesn't mean it's not covered, because we do have the section that says you have to follow laws. And but I have seen the comments of the presenter, and I think that's where you also bring up the trespassing comment, and we will provide that to our lawyers to see if we should make that more transparent within the policy, and if we have that ability to do it. I would think that there is something that can be worked in with respect to that.
Counselor? Set. Counselor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. I think Mr. Samley deserves a more full-throated answer. I think the answer to your question is we dropped the ball. The answer is that for 3 years this has been going on, and we as council have to take as much responsibility as staff and staff of the day. You've probably seen we've made some changes. So straight up, the buck stops with us. We dropped the ball. With respect to going forward, to Councillor Elliott's point, I'm just wondering that, I don't have any data on when most of these instances occur. In the summer, people are renting them for the week. Tuesday may be the same as Friday night, maybe the same as Saturday night. But I think it would be helpful if right now, with the staff that we do have, without going through the hiring process, perhaps the schedule is amended or they're paid a standby fee. I think these folks, everybody in Port Colborne, somehow has to know that you don't just dial the city hall number and get the on-call foreman, and then the on-call foreman calls somebody. We should set it up so that if you call bylaw on this, and when we have to bite the bullet for the cost, and certainly through July, August, and September, have a number that they can call, have our staff either get, like you do with an on-call foreman, they're paid a fee to be on call, and they respond. And it's just built into their schedule that somebody's got Friday night, somebody's got Saturday night, somebody's got Sunday night. And we have to get a grip on this because it's not very much comfort when you happen to be that neighbor. And I know we all know that, and I know we've said we all feel for them. But we can't leave here tonight without a plan that puts as much enforcement in as we can do without having the short-term bylaw. I also don't know, and maybe the mayor can help in this with his relationship with the police and being on the police board. Many of these matters are not matters that the police can solve, nor do they have enough manpower to handle them at times. But I think a discussion with the police about we're moving in the right direction, we're going to be there in November, can you help us out in July, August, and September, and be there when our poor bylaw officer is trying to do a job. But there's nothing like a cruiser pulling up and a policeman coming to the door, as opposed to, no deference, disrespect to bylaw officer. But until we have all the tools in place, this is one of those times where we sure could use a hand from the police. And so maybe that's an add-on. Somebody on call all the time in the evening. It may lessen some of the work they can do in the daytime, but we're in a crisis mode. We've got to get through these next 3 or 4 months till we get everything in order. With respect to what they can do now, I'm hoping that, the education program, a date for short-term rental landlords is put in place, all the paperwork is put in place, the processes that need to be taught to the bylaw officers. That could be happening now so they hit the ground running. And perhaps it already is, I don't know. But I think all that prep to, it may have to be repeated to the new bylaw officer, but certainly these guys and girls could be trained right now. So for what it's worth, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And with regards to the NRP, we do have a great working relationship, and we've had when Ms. Hanson was in bylaws, now that she's retired, with meeting with the NRP, specifically our staff sergeant and his staff here in Port Colborne. This has been an issue that they've spoken about, but again, our staff sergeant is more than happy to sit down with our bylaw, work with them, talk about situations, what level of call would they come in at and things like that. So once this person is brought on board, as well as our current staff, that will continue. That's not going to stop. And they're here for us. They've always said that. But as I said, we've got a great working relationship with them. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, when Councillor Elliott's motion comes forward, can that be incorporated in, or do I camp on to his about hiring somebody, but this is also about putting somebody?
Yeah, we'll add that in, because we can add that as direction as part of that, correct, Joe?
Great.
Councillor,
Thank you.
The clerk, Madam Clerk? Yeah. Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can someone confirm that there is a number at City Hall where you can call about complaints for short-term rentals? Because I didn't actually realize there was, other than bylaw, but apparently is there not a separate one? A separate, somebody's extension, somebody? No? So should somebody call bylaw and report? The only reason I say that is, so we get a new bylaw officer, and this whole thing doesn't take effect till November. So if they have a bunch, because we're dealing with bad actors. There's a lot of short-term rentals out there that people don't even know about. They follow the rules, it's very quiet, It's the bad actors that we need to jump on, but there needs to be a series of call-ins when they're doing and what they're doing wrong from the neighbors. And I know neighbors to the one by me are calling into City Hall and apparently logging this, so is anybody? Anyways, I'm just saying, there's gotta be history, so when this bylaw guy starts, girl starts, they're not starting from zero and think these people are great. They're gonna look at the bad actors, hopefully, and jump on them first and react to other ones as they come along. So I just want that list of complaints to be cataloged somehow.
Can we leave that with the CAO, just to come back, they can, we'll have the CAO email us. If it's during the day, it's coming in and it's on our citywide. So our staff on the first floor will log that, it'll go right to bylaws. They'll contact bylaws right away. If it's something that they can look after right on the phone, they'll do that, but if they need an attendant, in this case, a bylaw officer to get out there, our staff there through citywide gets a hold of bylaw right away and they go out. I've seen it with illegal parked cars. There was actually one here that my neighbor called on and they were there in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think this is after the fact, like
But
they've
we're
been
talking-
up all,
Yeah.
you know, all night, they gotta get up and go to work. They call the police. That might have, you know, be good for the short term, but then an hour or two later, it's again, but if those are all logged and they know that that's a problem, then the bylaw guy or girl is not gonna start from zero.
Yeah, so if we can leave that with the CAO then, just so they can make sure that the process works.
So through the mayor to the councillor and council, just for clarity, I think we have three things. There's general support to add another bylaw officer. There's a request to see if we could improve the or enhance an on-call system. Our bylaw officers are pretty good to make themselves available when we need, but there's a request to see if we can enhance the on-call system subject to the collective bargaining agreement. And I think we just have to say that we have to look at that and how that works. And then the third is to simplify the call-in or complaint process for residents. So whether this discussion about the specific phone line, I apologize if there is one. I'm not aware of it. It's being run through bylaw. So, but I think I'll take it as direction that we want to make sure that we've communicated out a simple process for people to log a complaint, and then we can address the complaint.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify one thing. Your issue, Councillor Bodnar, is great because we need to keep that running record. But starting from the last one, like right now, if you have a problem after hours, bylaw or anything else, you call the after hours number. They call the on-call foreman. The on-call foreman, who's got a truck at home, he goes out, he assesses the situation. He needs to call in a crew or whatever, that happens. But all that takes time. And so what I'm saying is there ought to be a number for bylaw that somebody's wearing that pager. And if it is a contractual issue, perhaps, and I thought we had done this at certain times when we had all the parking issues, where bylaw wasn't working just day shift. There was another shift that maybe went till midnight. Maybe now it can go till 3 a.m. or something. But some way that that phone call doesn't have to go. Sometimes it'll ring, it goes to the answering service. The answering service writes everything down. The answering service says, I'm going to call the on-call foreman. As a counselor, I've gotten a call back saying what they're going to do, repeat the story, because sometimes the story is lost between the answering service, which isn't know everything about Port Colborne and that. And so there's a series of these steps. But when it's midnight, you know, an hour is a long time. And so that's the thing we could shorten, and maybe it's the shift change.
Yeah.
So just wanted to add that clarity.
I've added that, Councillor. Councillor Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, one thing we've done in the past, and when we were talking about the report being fairly lengthy, is there a way that we can get the report sooner than Thursday afternoon before the council meeting, so we have some time to read and prepare.
Yeah, through the mayor, and the clerk loves it when I speak on her behalf, so maybe she should respond, but I think we've been able to do that. We do that with the health care engagement reports, and I think it works well. Public has more time to provide input, and I think this one would be a great example of where we could do that too. People might want to read it over Labor Day weekend before, yeah.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Baggett.
One last question, Mayor, then I'll shut up. Do we have any resources that could get a jump on things and start looking up online these Airbnbs that are actually open now, rather than wait till November 1st and then we hire somebody to start looking at it?
CAO?
So through the mayor to the councilor, we actually have done that, and Greg's been, we haven't hired somebody to do it, but Greg Higginbotham, who's running our tourism program, has been doing some of that because we implemented the MAT tax, the municipal accommodation tax, and it's about, that has an enforcement component too. So we've been logging where we see short-term rentals across the city, so we actually have an inventory to start from going forward, and you'll see that that will evolve too. Most municipalities, if they're going to have the municipal accommodation tax, would have the short-term rental bylaw done first, because that's the real record of if there's a short-term rental, and then following the MAT tax. Councillor Bruno noted that, and I think council knows, we went through that process last year and we ended up having to do the MAT tax first, and we're working through getting that short-term rental now. It's not the order that I think the staff in front of you today would have preferred, but it's what we're working with.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Elliott?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for the comments. And it sounds like everybody's in support. So Dave, thanks for being the catalyst to start this conversation. And just to pick up what Councilor Bruno said, believe it or not, sometimes we don't get it all right. And I know that's hard to believe, but we screwed this one up bad, and we'll wear that, right? There's no getting away from that. But we do need to have staggered coverage, so that the worst thing that you can have is there's a party going on next to you that's making noise, 2 o'clock in the morning, and your call is important to us. If you leave your name and number, we'll be sure to get right back to you. Click. How long am I gonna wait till that phone call comes back or somebody shows up?
Call the cops.
Right? Yeah.
Call the cops.
But we should have somebody that responds to that. And it has to be a defined amount of time. Somebody's gotta be on call. There's no sense going through all of these if we can't respond in time when the issue at hand is at hand. So we've gotta somehow get through the collective agreement to make sure that we're on call. And you're right, Councilor Bodnar, a dedicated line to call to get a response is needed as well, right? There's no sense hiring somebody and then that person that we've basically hired to cover these issues isn't available to cover the issues. We're doing this with a purpose, and the purpose is the complaints for short-term rentals. When they're not doing that, yes, there may be other jobs that they can undertake, but if a complaint comes in, that's priority one. Go and respond to that and see what's going on. We may need NRP to come and help out, but that is the position that we're tasking them with. So I'd like to see that they know that that's job one. So.
Thank you, Councilor.
Something else.
CAO?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add just to one, because I know sometimes staff also watch our council meetings, and I think just for our bylaw staff to know, and I think council will just reiterate, our bylaw staff's doing a great job. The complexity is, it's a long period of time, there's a lot of hours, and I think what you're trying to do here is to help give them the resources that they can continue doing that and expand the work that they can do. So just for the record on that, and just thanks to all the bylaw staff for the work they're doing.
Thank you. Councilor Potter?
Just a comment, and maybe the CAO has an answer. Would we really send a single bylaw officer out to a noise complaint with, in our area the one night, 17 drunken 20-something-year-olds? I wouldn't want to put that person in that spot. I wouldn't ask them to do it. So it's great to have somebody there, but I think you got to pick your battles of who you're going to send out. Would they simply be better calling the police, to respond to that? So.
Should always be teams of two anyway.
Yeah, I've got that in the amendment that will deal with that. But, yeah, our bylaw now doesn't engage if they see that there's that type of situation where they'll make the call to the police, which they have in the past.
Sure, and I think it's got to be clear to the people that are affected by this that, we're not going to have our bylaw out there trying to, that'd be like Dave going over and asking them to be quiet. Not a good idea, probably. So,
Yeah.
I don't think it is, Dave, anyways.
So I do have an amendment based on, the clerks put this together, and we've added a couple things through discussion. Before I go to the amendment, any further questions on the main motion? Okay, so we'll be just dealing with the amendment, then we'll be dealing with the motion as amended. So moved by Councilors Elliott and Bodnar that the CAO will be directed to hire a bylaw enforcement officer to address issues related to short-term rentals, to be budgeted for under the 2025 bylaw servicings budget until the bylaw to license, regulate, and govern short-term rental accommodations in Port Colborne is passed by council. And this will include enhancement on an enhanced on-call system, having bylaw staff work with the Niagara Regional Police, and update any education and training that will be needed. Because some may have some, so especially if the new person doesn't, then it'll be, okay, so it'll pick up all that. It'll obviously pick up those situations, Councillor Bodnar, with regards to going into a hornet's nest, so. Anything, councillors, are you fine with that? Is that fine with you as a mover?
Yeah, that's good with me.
Councillor Bodnar, you're fine? Okay, questions on the amendment? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Now back to the motion as amended. Any further questions? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Oh, sorry, that's yours. Item 13.2 is the formal response to Niagara Health regarding the future of Port Colborne Site 2025-150. If I could have Councillors Bagu and Bruno move that the Chief Administrative Officer Report 2025-150 be received, and that the letter addressed to Niagara Health regarding the city's response to letter dated June the 2nd, 2025, decision requested partnering for the future of healthcare in South Niagara, from December the 3rd, 2024, attached here to as Appendix B, be approved, and that the Chief Administrative Officer and the Mayor be directed to send the letter attached here to as Appendix B to Niagara Health. Questions? Councillor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. I really like the unified response that we have, and it seemed to touch on all the issues. But if we're going to be still communicating with the Niagara Health, I still would like to have them aware of, or maybe this is just internal staff and the committee to handle. What I'm about to say is that I think there's an inequity still, even if we solve all this and we're going to make a contribution, I think there's still an inequity that's been overlooked. I think what it's like, the shiny object is over here, the $6.2 million, getting doctors, all this kind of stuff. And I think what's forgotten about, however this shakes out, is I'd still like some clarity and work on the issue of equity. We're being asked for this contribution, and we've been told without a blink of the eye, I give her credit, straight up answer, when there's renovations at Welland, we're coming back to ask you. And I don't believe, and I'd like to find out, is if you live in St. David's or Virgil, and you're now between the St. Catherine's Hospital and the new one in Niagara Falls, I'd like to find out if those people are paying for two hospitals. Because I'm going to time out what it takes to get to the new Niagara Falls Hospital and to 4th Avenue. And I don't think people there are being asked to pay. I don't know that that there can be any observation that Port Colborne should pay a contribution to the new Niagara Falls Hospital, South Niagara Hospital, and then things will go quiet for 6 years, and then the plan will come out for Welland, and there'll be an ask. If I'm going to give now, I want some assurances about the future, and that's an if we're going to give now. So if we can somehow source that out and bring it back, it'd be appreciated.
Yeah, the staff will be working on that.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, as opposed to committee, it'll be staff. Bricks and mortar, we want staff to look after. Okay. Further questions? All in favor? That's carried. Item 13.3 is recommendation report official plan and zoning amendment 242 and 246 West Side Road 2025-133. If I could have councillors Ackland and Bodner move that Development and Government Relations Department report 2025-133 be received, that the official plan amendment attached as Appendix B of report 2025-133 be approved, and that the zoning bylaw amendment attached as Appendix C of report 2025-133 be approved, and that matters related to servicing, stormwater, landscaping, lighting, fencing, waste management, as well as the list of functional design revisions and considerations, including amenity areas, access, and connectivity, as provided within Appendix D, be addressed to the satisfaction of the city through the site plan approval process, that the city clerk be directed to issue the notices of decisions regarding the bylaws in accordance with the Planning Act. Questions? Councillor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you. Sorry I couldn't get my computer up and running fast enough. This is the one West Side Road, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So I see Diana's here to answer some questions. So the last time out, there was a shortcoming in terms of the drawing and rendering. And there was also issues about traffic light, and there was also issues about parking. And I think all of councillors have received Mr. Gaverlak's and Mrs. Gaverlak's email. I'd just like to touch on a couple high points there, and through you too, Diana. With respect to the parking issue, I think other councillors were vocal about this. The fact that it's come back with just I'll say, similar response to the last time, that parking density still doesn't sit well with me, and hadn't thought of something in Mr. Gavelak's letter, but I think it was mentioned in general by one of the councillors last time, that this promotes parking on the street on Franklin, or the extension of. And from my point of view, I'm not willing to go forward with that level of parking. I'm still not willing to go forward with an 8th floor. And just to quickly reiterate, you know, somebody gets a development approval, they sell it to somebody else, they ask for another floor or more density, that helps them pay for the paper that they just bought, which is a draft plan approval that's in place. I have a hard time with any justification that the developments, or that the draft plan that we passed was sufficient, and that the lift on density, 8 floors, and the parking issue, which is tighter because there's an 8th floor, just doesn't sit well with me, and so I'm going to be opposed to that. So the question to you is, were those two matters reviewed again since the meeting? Or did this just come back with the same copy that was there in last week's report, or 2 weeks ago's report?
Planning?
Thank you. Through the mayor to the councillor, it was just, the only revision that was made to the report, to my knowledge, is just adding on those drawings that were requested at the last meeting.
Okay. And I have one other question, Mr. Mayor. So with respect of an extension of Franklin Avenue through to Highway 58 and a traffic light there, which I understand is, well, I should ask you first. The traffic light's going to be included to the extent that the first one that develops is on the hook for that, or there's agreements that people pay back, but the city does not have to pay for that traffic light? Can you clarify that?
Planning?
Through the mayor to the councillor, that has been recommended as one of the provisions in the holding provision in front of you tonight, is that the traffic study must be submitted to the satisfaction of not only city staff, but the MTO. So it will ultimately be whoever ends up building out that road to the satisfaction of all applicable agencies that will end up paying for the road.
And lastly, forgive me, I didn't bring this up the last time because I actually hadn't thought about it till it was brought to my attention. So if you can imagine Franklin Avenue also becoming, it may be an exaggeration to say it's an arterial road, right through to Steel Street and potentially almost to Elm Street, a cut across. So now people can go on Omer, but generally speaking, they use Barrack or they use Highway 3. And so when I look at places like Coronation, Merritt Parkway, Maple Avenue for all these years in Portal Village, there is a one-way in and out without an extension to an existing quiet residential neighborhood when there's not only X amount of housing units in this development before us, but the subsequent ones around there that have already been improved. And so the fact that I didn't bring it up, can we get to the point of where there's a access off of 58, a traffic light there, but it doesn't have to go through to Franklin and Woodside. And I would suggest that at least in the case of Portal Village, it's worked well for all these years. And there's more people, I believe, in housing units in 400, 300 Steel, Gilead Manor, the old age home, and all of the subdivisions. So I would like to see, and maybe it has to go through fire or emergency services, that doesn't have to be a cut through to Steel Street and others and increase the inconvenience on the people living beyond there. So I'm not sure if, unless you can give me some guidance, how to throw that into the mix, or does it come as an amendment and you have to vote on it, it gets delayed till you come back in 2 weeks? I'm just looking for some direction in how one goes about that.
Planning?
Through the mayor to the councillor, I would suggest that, in my opinion, the report and the recommended amendments would actually address those factors as well through the site plan process, which will be one of the requirements to clear the hold, is to enter into a site plan agreement or some kind of development agreement for building out the road. That would be one of the reviews, is to make sure our fire department is happy with it, our MTO is happy with it. All the applicable agencies do need to review all the documents submitted for a site plan agreement and sign off on them. So all of that will need to happen before they can clear the hold on the property, before the zoning will be permitted to take effect, if that helps.
So you don't need a motion here to have that part happen?
In my personal opinion, I don't think so, but, yeah.
Counselor, if I suggest that, whether this is passed or doesn't, but if it passes tonight, I suggest that we give direction to the planning department that when they're going through those site plan conditions, that they know council wants them to look at putting a cul-de-sac, because that's what ultimately it would be, based on MTO, fire, emergency services and things like that. Because that'll ultimately tell you whether you can or can't do it.
Okay, so that's included just by the
We
ask.
we can give direction so that when they're doing this, that if that can be done, then that's what our staff will put in, that you've got to do this, this, and this based on,
Okay,
on that, and nothing will be lifted until that's.
so I don't need a nod by everybody here, I can just say.
No, we can deal with that after, we'll just do it as council direction.
Very
When they're
good,
going, because that's gonna be a whole process that's gonna go through with many, many issues.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on that? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried. So with direction, you've got what Counselor said, so you'll make sure the planning department gets it. Okay, thank you, staff. Declaration of City Property Surplus, item 13.4, Elgin Street, 2025-149. Moved by Councilors Bruno and Hoyle that Development and Government Relations Department Report 2025-149 be received. That the property with the unaddressed municipal address on Elgin Street, legally described as Plan 59M282 BL Block 12, as shown on Appendix A, attached here to be declared as surplus. Questions? Councilor Bagu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I guess, to Bram. Bram, if and when this passes and staff does recommend to council that we sell to the adjoining property owners, the existing ones right now, how is the cost of these properties determined for the residents?
Mr. Cost.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bagu. So we do have a formula that's done by square footage, and then a percentage of survey costs and legal fees. So our legal fees for all closings are are added to the final cost, but it's a square footage, dollar amount per square foot of the property that the agreements are to purchase.
Councilor?
I'll go with that, Mr. Mayor. Thanks.
Councilor Bruno.
Thank you, through you to Mr. Cotton. So I understand that tonight's meeting, I'm crystal clear on that, is to declare the property surplus. We've done that many times before, and then things start evolving from that once it's declared surplus. So everybody's read the report, we've heard from the residents there, and I just want to be crystal clear that I'm viewing this as, after declaring surplus, that the planning department or your department is going to proceed on the basis of the abutting property owners to our land, that it will be 50-50, like in terms of the split? Because I don't want to find out, and maybe there's a second kick at the can, but if you know right now anything different than 50-50, I'd like to get it on the floor.
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruno, through our surplus land policy, it can be up to 50-50 per adjoining landowner. So for example, if all the adjoining landowners to the east decide they wanted less than 50%, then we could accommodate that and sell, say, I'm just going to throw the number, 30%. We would sell the other 70% to the other adjoining landowner pending their desire to purchase it as well. So it's up to 50% at a max.
Last question. And so this is a process whereby right now that surplus property is not going to be marketed to the world. It's going to be marketed to adjoining property owners.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Bruno. It is what we consider a non-marketable piece. So as a non-marketable piece under our surplus property bylaw, it would be to the adjoining landowners first.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Further questions? Counselor Danch?
Through you, excuse me, through you to Bram. Just like looking at some of the lines there, like, and just gonna use, 2 Maple as a example. You've kind of got that turnaround there, and we've got the line going through it. Like, are we gonna make that turnaround area? I mean, that's a parking area for people. I mean, that's really all it is, right?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Dan. So, yeah, that's currently a cul-de-sac or turnaround area. So the idea going forward is that actually will become a straight road through there. So therefore, the need for that little sort of gray area that you're referring to won't necessarily need to be there unless I'm looking at my map upside down. But if you look at the lines, it's going to follow the lines in general as they sit today.
You all right, Counselor? Yeah. Okay. Further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Item 13.5 is 2025 Water Main Rehabilitation Program Extension, 2025-147, moved by Councilors Bagu and Elliott. The Public Works Department Report 2025-147 be received. The Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer and Director of Public Works to execute the agreements to complete the 2026 water main lining program on Hampton Avenue and Schofield Avenue with a budget of $1.8 million, and the Council pre-approve the inclusion of this project and the related financing costs into the 2026 water budget. Okay, Councilor Bagu wanted questions on this? Councilor Bagu?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor, to thank staff for being so far ahead on North and South Crescent. And it looks like it's been complete. I drove by there a couple of days ago and all their hoses are disconnected from all the houses, Mr. Mayor. And so I'd like to just thank staff for being prudent and getting the stuff done and saving the city money, saving our taxpayers money on the next step, and keep up the great work. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. Echo what Councilor Bagu said. Through you to, is it Joe on this one? Are you handling this one on the water main, or is it Cassandra?
Team effort, but yeah, I wrote the report.
Okay. Great job in moving this forward to get $120,000 savings and the contractor honoring that price. So you know I'm going to push you to ask you if you can do more at that price, and we'll lend you the money, and God willing. And because, you know, I think what we're going to learn here is that moving this forward, every day something's leaking, including tonight, right, is going to shut that tap off earlier. So I don't know if there's any more you could handle, but more importantly, the contractor can handle if we have projects in the queue.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to let everyone know, when we set this contract up, we had it set up for a 1-year term with the option to renew. So because we expedited this the first part of the project, and now we have 26 coming online in 25, we will have the ability to further extend this contract in 2026 to expedite other water mains that are available and ready to go. So pending budget approval and pending good quality workmanship with our contractor, that we can advance this program.
Through you to Mr. Bowles. We talked before about council pre-approving things before actually the budget is. We've allocated a whole bunch of money for water and wastewater. Is there a way, if we got the same price, we could help these guys out by doing another street letting the contract for another street in 2025? In other words, can you advance the money?
CAO.
Through the mayor to the councilor and council on the topic, I think we've had a look at our long-term financial plan, and we've presented it to council, and I think council is well aware that we do have the
plan to issue more debt for the project. So whether we issue the debt in 2025 or 2026, because it's in the plan, we'll be able to make that work. I think just measured steps on the approval and the movement from council would be appropriate. And I think our manager of infrastructure has set a good pace on this. Get the second one done. Let's make sure the workmanship is there. And then we'll come back to you and we'll take it as council direction that should all those things line up, we'll come back to you and we'll say, let's keep going.
Counselor?
Thank you.
Okay, further questions? All in favor? That's carried. Item 13.6 is City of Pickering raising Ontario Works, OW, and Ontario Disability Support Program, the ODSP, moved by Councilors Bagu and Danch. The council support the correspondence from the City of Pickering regarding raising Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support Programs. Questions? Councilor Bagu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I pulled this because I thought this was, you hear a lot of concerns from our residents about the Ontario Disability Support Program, which is ODSP, and raising Ontario Works, OW. So if you let me, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to read just a little bit of it. And okay. The Council of the Corporation of the City of Pickering considered the above matter at a meeting held May 26th this year and adopted the resolution. Whereas individuals and families receiving income support through Ontario Works and the Ontario Disability Support Program are facing increasing challenges in meeting basic needs due to rising costs of living. And whereas Statistics Canada notes that people with disabilities have a higher poverty rate and a lower rate of employment than the overall population. And whereas the annual income support for Ontario Works is currently $8,796 and $16,416 for our Ontario Disability Support Program, these supports have not increased sufficiently to keep up with inflation and the cost of living, Mr. Mayor. Such costs are anticipated to continue increasing. And whereas food banks, including our local food bank, provided a necessity service for increasing demand in our communities. And in Pickering, Mr. Mayor, there it is. The Pickering Food Bank serves 1,722 adults and 1,054 kids in just the month of February of 2000 this year. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull this and exchange it to our own municipality, including our Port Cares, and the support that they provide to our residents for whatever month they want to pick, February 2025 or whatever, and just to show the Ontario government we have the need, because I know Port Cares has always done really well. Well, not really well. That's really well with the need of the residents, Mr. Mayor. So. And if the Madam Clerk can also forward the completed letter to council, I don't want to approve it, just want a copy of it for my records, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, we'll follow what Pickering has asked, and it's always the same as what we asked, is the local area MPPs, as well as the Premier and the Minister responsible and so on. So we can do that, and with ours, we can approach Port Cares and ask for their numbers. Those are readily available, exactly the same ones that Pickering has. So we can include that in there as support. You're fine with that?
Absolutely. What we usually do is we just say that the City of Colborne has supported the City of Pickering correspondence, and we attach it, and we can just send it off to those members like you had suggested. Absolutely, no problem.
Okay. Further questions? All in favor? That's carried. Staff remarks. Madam Clerk, anything from your office?
Nothing this evening.
Public Works.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Joe just has a presentation for some updates on all the work happening downtown.
Yeah.
Pull that up.
Thanks, Cassandra. Through the mayor to council, just a quick update on Clarence Street. We've completed the storm sewer work. We also completed the water main work back in May and early June. And then some of the surface restoration is taking place right now, as you're aware. Concrete work should be completed by the end of this week. Road base asphalt will be completed the week of July 14th to 18th. And on July 18th, the road will reopen. The final top asphalt will require the roadway to be closed for a one-day period, and that will happen on July 28th, weather permitting and schedule permitting. The next slide is just a quick update on West Street electrical improvements. I know that this project has been ongoing and a little messy, but just recently we completed some asphalt restoration. There's still a few pieces to be completed. It was very challenging with multiple contractors completing multiple steps at different times. I just kudos to Rankin on Clarence Street for really supporting the local businesses and to help residents get through, as well as the contractors working here on West Street. They've been doing, I know it may not appear this way, but they've been really going above and beyond trying to get things completed, poles in the ground, ESA approval, working with PowerCon and the Power Authority. So there was a lot of challenges, even with the Seaway. Kudos to Matt Pilon, our senior project manager. He's been putting in a lot of hours and time and effort to make sure that everyone's been just juggling a lot of different things at the same time. So we appreciate his efforts. The new lights, I just want to mention that there was a little bit of a delay. They were ready to get turned on, but we needed ESA approval. I believe that's been done, and I think Monday of next week it'll be an official switch and you'll see these lights actually turned on. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. It already looks amazing without the wires and the overhead, and just a different look altogether. So surface restorations, like I said, they're ongoing and should be completed. All final restoration, there's sod and topsoil being laid down. The week of July 21st, we should be cleaned up and finalized in those few blocks. Last is the pergola, the West Street patio. The concrete works has been completed. The pergolas have been ordered and they're scheduled to be installed on July 21st, or the week of July 21st. The furniture will be coming after Canal Days, probably in late August, early September. The lease agreement, had a little bit of conversation with staff, and that's been finalized. And the awarded proponent is Canal Side, and there's a little picture somewhat of what it'll look like once installed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. I drive by, the streetlights don't look like they have the guts in them, but maybe I'm mistaken. But I just want you to be aware of the one new street light in front of Rankin's building above Pie Guys. Because of the height of the new poles, it's about the second story of the apartment building. I just want to make sure we take into effect that we may need some shading for that light going into a residence in the apartment building. Hopefully we don't have to go back and take care of it right away. So before we get the complaint.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct to the councillor. Yes, those have been taken into consideration, and we have those shields ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you. And Joe, great job to you and staff. Heard nothing but kudos across this city. About everywhere I go, they're talking about West Street and how nice it looks. And oh my God, you don't see the wires. You can stand in front of the ice cream shop or whatever shop you're there, and there's no trees. You can see the ships now, and they're really looking forward to it being fully completed. And the biggest question I get, is it going to be done for Canal Days? And I said, yes.
So looking forward to having them part of the city's development team moving forward. Forward to having them part of the city's development team moving forward. Just a couple of the quick things. Just on the grain terminal, just want to assure council that that is an open file. We did receive a report recently from Collier's project leaders that we will share with council this fall. I think as part of that update to council this fall related to the grain terminal, we're hoping to have 2 or 3 proposals that have that are sort of in the works that will likely be submitted formally this summer. So looking forward to bringing a grain terminal update to council sometime this fall. Also wanted to mention that preparations for the AMO conference are underway. We have already received 3 meeting confirmations, and we're anticipating more positive responses between now and mid-August. We've also reached out to other organizations who will have a presence at the AMO conference, specifically Hydro One, as well as the independent electricity systems operator. So we expect to have some favorable responses from them. We have also reached out to the offices of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities who are based in Ottawa. While we're in Ottawa, we'd love to come by and talk about some applications that I know Cassandra has submitted, and I know the CAO and I have talked about some other funding opportunities that FCM may have to support city projects. So, and finally, I just wanted to mention to council that I feel really positive vibes after the meetings we had today with Vance Badaway as well as Fred Davies and senior staff. You know, I mean, Port Colborne has accomplished a lot in the last several years, and it's not because of one person. It's staff and council and others working together. And I really felt good from our discussions today, the collaboration, the discussions, and you know, lots to do, but we're all moving in the right direction. So I really feel good about the conversations we had with our new MP and our new regional councilor. Thank you.
Thank you. And we welcome Kelly back to Port Colborne. She's a Port Colborne girl. Everybody knows the Martel family from Port Colborne, so welcome back. She's been in other municipalities, most recently Milton. And we welcome our new CBAO who comes to us from North Bay via Wasaga Beach at one time. And if everybody remembers our clerk that filled in, Nicole, Nicole works in Wasaga Beach now, but they know each other. So Nicole gave them all the heads up on what we're all like here at Port Colborne. And he still came, so that's pretty good. That's true. I mean, hey, people talk about good people. Nicole talked about some good people down here. So, and again, welcome back and welcome to our staff. Nothing from communications. CAO.
Maybe I should start by just echoing and thanking Gary for thanking everybody. My couple things it's just obviously Canal Days is coming up, and if anybody's interested in volunteering for Canal Days, if you call customer service, we'll put you in contact. And I know some of the councils have already volunteered to help in different locations, so appreciate that. And if council's okay, we can take feedback after, but I really think Public Works for the little presentation is a little different than what we've done before, where you used to have a full reporter, and that this might just be a quick way to communicate some of the projects in a maybe formal but less formal mechanism, because writing reports, going through that process is a much different format, and this is a nice way to get a quick update on some of the projects. So if council's okay with that, we'll continue to look at this model of communication in the future. And just a reminder, with Canal Days going on, a huge thank you to staff already for the work they're putting in and getting ready. But we also actually have an abbreviated or adjusted council meeting schedule, just for anybody watching, and for council, I think you're aware, but I think the next council meeting is August 26th. So there'll be a little bit of a break while we put on Canal Days, and then we'll be coming back to our regular programming.
Thank you, CAO. On to councillors' remarks. Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wondered if we went through a stretch of really hot weather, and I know the beaches were packed, at least Centennial was for sure, actually overflowing with parking. I don't want to jinx anything, but we're going to get a little report on how things are going at Nickel Beach and Centennial, just to, just to keep us surprised of any problems or any good news.
Through the mayor to the councillor, I can have the team send a quick little email to council just to give you an update, given the time differential, but between the next meetings. But
I can report that things are going quite well, and attendance is spectacular compared to last year, but we've had spectacular weather, and I think that's been a huge benefit. And the students out there are doing a great job keeping everything clean, and the parking, we've had parking overflow at Nickel Beach. We've been in the overflow lot on many weekends, days already this year. So it's impressive, the work and the coordination that's happened by staff so far.
Councillor Hoyle.
Through the mayor, I have a few things. One is I've been asked by residents about update on the Berkeley and the Davis Street construction. To me, Davis Street looks like it's almost done, but I'm just confirming Berkeley's still in another stage, or is that finalizing soon?
Through the mayor to the councillor. Davis, I believe we're just doing some of the final restoration. So we'll be doing top coat. We'll wait a year though after settling to do that. So I think they've been there this week at the north end, starting there, finishing up curb. We've talked to some of the residents there too, just about driveways. We have to still do sod restoration, things like that. So that Davis is wrapping up. Homewood is done. Berkeley, I think it's just some final work there too. We'll do, again, I believe Berkeley is top coat will be in a year. So there will be, yeah, we'll do that after it settles after a year, but everything is on schedule and wrapping up for those projects.
Also, Councillor Wagner kind of took what I was going to ask about the beach, because on Saturday I went by it. They were directing people down the side streets because it was full. The parking lots were all full, so I was going to ask for an update today. So he beat me to that punch. The other thing I've had a few things that came about the NRT. I'll bring up to Regional Councillor Vance probably by morning. But I know the mayor can talk, and Councillor Bogart can also talk about it because he's on the committee, about a bus stop on the other side of town, on the east side. Because right now we have people that have accessibility issues, and I've heard that they call NRT to get a ride to City Hall to get the bus. Why not have a bus stop on the other side and make a loop? Just makes sense. The other thing I have is that with all this uncertainty with the hospital and all that, I want to make sure residents can get a as direct as possible, not because there is an NRT when you use the system, there is changeover spots. If we can have residents, I'm sure it benefit all the residents of all Niagara, if the people with accessibility issues can get a direct to a doctor, like if their doctor's in Niagara Falls, come pick them up here, take them by Niagara Falls back. That's something we have to work on and expand the NRT system. But I just want you to bring that forward so we can make sure our residents are well covered. And I think that's it for my list.
Yeah, I'll let the CAO, but that was our conversation today. We're meeting with Vance, so we talked about that. But the CAO can enhance that.
Yeah, so just through the mayor and to the councillor and council. So Councillor Hoyle, yourself and a couple other councillors have expressed the same thing to me before that. So we've actually also incorporated into the healthcare committee report tomorrow, because you can actually go on NRT's like strategic plan and you can see they do have like a much more advanced transit system for Port Colborne plan, but it's for 2035. And I know you're talking about today because that's 10 years off and there's a lot of questions about do you get the funding or not and how do you get there? So long time between now and 2035. So for all intents and purposes, we've also included it in the healthcare committee presentation so they can talk about it. So thank you for the earlier recommendations on it, and we're trying to turn that into action for you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Danch.
I'll leave you alone this week.
Councillor Elliott.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you get extra time.
I can't have his? No. The 10 minutes starts now?
That's right.
Okay. I'm looking at Joe and he's looking at me laughing. I know. So like July 28th is, let me count them, 3 days before Canal Days. So if anything goes wrong and they don't get the asphalt installed, I'll hold my breath because I want to see it, because I know how long it's taken. And I know by talking to Matt and Steve, all the issues. But the last couple of days, going by looking at the sidewalk installation, they really haven't poured a lot of pads. So like the north side has nothing done on the sidewalks. And the south side, I think they did a couple of pours. And it looks like there's still more gravel that's bare than gravel that has cement on it. So how come it's taking so long? Because I went by Tecumseh and Walker Road in Windsor today, and they're pouring like a massive chunk. I know it's a roadway, but if they can pour a whole bunch, why can't we pour more?
Through the mayor to the councillor and council, I do understand that it doesn't appear that there's a whole chunk of concrete going down, which in some cases there isn't, but there are coal chutes that require a lot of rejigging. 2 or 3 property owners wanted to keep their coal chutes, which we agreed to. So we had to reconstruct, reinstall. There's a lot of different things happening, but we got a good chunk of concrete poured today. Most of the sidewalk on the south side is completed, and I believe they're going to be pouring more tomorrow on the north side. So they are just finalizing prior to going through the whole sidewalk. They got to get those chambers or those coal sheets sort of repaired and restored and made sure that the hatch is done properly and that the sidewalk matches in. So, but yes, I also want to mention that July 18th, the week of July 18th, we'll have a hard surface down, and then the top asphalt is the 21st, I believe.
Okay.
So we're in good shape.
Okay, because I just noticed that the bump outs weren't even poured. They're all formed and everything like that, and the gravels in them and everything like that. But there's like those are 2 big areas that they got to do. 2 other quick questions. One, by the Harbor Master building, there is a brand new accessible ramp that was installed.
Yes.
I thought that there's an orange cone, and I thought it was to draw people's attention to the bottom of the ramp, but it actually says wet paint. Is there going to be some kind of guard? Because it looks like if you're not paying attention, you can come around the Harbor Master and not notice that ramp is there, because it doesn't have any protection, or if you're not looking where you're going, you could trip over it. And I just wonder if there's going to be a railing around it or something that lets people know that it's there. You know what I mean?
Through the mayor, yeah, I do know what you mean, and I do believe we have plans on putting a railing there just to make sure that people don't topple over.
Okay, 2 quick things. This is a bad thing, and this is not from our employees. One of the workers told a shop owner that this project won't be completed till August, the middle of August. And that sent shockwaves through everybody. So we've been up and up with the BIA about, why the extension and everything like that. But when you've got people that are doing the job saying something like that to a business owner, you can imagine what they're feeling. So that's why I want to get, I don't want to be 100% guaranteed, but 99.9 will work for me, that this is going to get done so that we can tell the people, yes, this is going to come to an end by this date, and don't listen to what somebody else has said to you.
Through the mayor, that is correct. We've been out there, again, I want to just give another kudos to Matt. Like, he's been out there daily for hours, and he leaves for a meeting or whatnot, and something happens out there. And there is a lot of chatter, but I know for a fact that Rankin has been really supportive in trying to make sure that they're moving as quickly as possible. It may not appear that way when you're driving by all the time. There's a lot of different things that we had to get an engineer approval for the coal chute, because We needed special rebar to make sure that something's gonna last a long time and it's not just something that's shabby. We're gonna own this, and the coal chute has to, so there's a lot of things that are going on. There's multiple contractors on West Street that are working on top of each other that probably shouldn't be. So I don't wanna say that too loud, but it's true. They are out there working day and night, moving around each other, trying to get through this so that we're done by Canal Days, and they're trying to make a commitment to get the work completed. So if there is an issue with getting it done not on time, we would advise council, we would share that. So right now, we are on target, and we believe that the week of the 21st, West Street will be completed. There might be a couple of minor restorations that have to be done, but the work will get done before Canal Days, I can assure you.
Okay, just so I can take it back to
Absolutely.
the business owners and say, hey, look, this is, we're on track to get done. Don't listen to what everybody else is saying. So,
appreciate it.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And we can always rewind the tape to what the mayor said earlier. Councilor Bruno.
Through to Joe, Middlebridge today, with Canal Days coming, looks pretty fresh. Graffiti seaway problem on that abutment that swings down, the wall, the metal wall. Got some, could use getting rid of if they can do it by Canal Days. And I don't know, if, the mayor's always ended up having to take care of this, and maybe it's still coming. McDonald's corner, traffic island, light, weeds. Joe? Great.
Talk to Steve.
Through you to, I'm not sure, maybe the mayor again. When we had the AK tour last year, they promised us a tour in spring. It's now summer. I know there's a lot of beehive activity going on there. Any chance of a tour?
Through the mayor to the councillor, we have been offered a tour by SACSA, so if you are interested as council, myself and Gary will work on arranging that for you.
You want the count tonight?
I'll suggest
through the CIO and the mayor's EA, we'll have her send out some dates.
Great.
So we can get as many people. And quite frankly, even if we wait till after Canal Days, you're best.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, if you're coming back from St. Catharines and Welland down the 140, when you get to the traffic circle, turn right and go towards the town line tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
But when you turn right there, and as you turn left and look at that building, it gives you the best view of it, as opposed to coming down from Port Colborne on the 140. It's unbelievable the size of this thing. Like, I drove there from Region about a week ago, and I stopped, and I'm sitting at the top of the hill, and I had to really pay attention about the trucks coming behind me. Because the steel for that building is coming right from that road. I can't remember the name of the road in Welland, but it's coming from the plant down there that brings it in. And this is pretty cool specialty steel. But I would wait. You'll see way more, believe me.
Sure.
But we'll make sure that, and we'll make sure that we arrange that. We'll get Gail to send you guys all an invite and with a number of dates, even if we have to do it in 2, but we'll take those dates.
It's the opposite of a shrinking mill.
Yes.
Right? You know how a shrinking mill gets
Yeah.
smaller?
Yeah.
Drive down that road,
It's good.
what you see from the 140 is this big. When you drive down there and take a look, it's this big.
It's a big facility.
Just to put perspective.
That's phase 1, people. I mean, think about it. There's 2 more phases.
Yeah. Surprised me when I first saw that there.
Go ahead.
Just one more. I think this would go to Joe. So we'll all remember the constant plight of Miss Aliberti with the sump pump running forever. And we built that pipeline over to, I'm not sure, it was a division. We sorted it out. So I'm not sure of the name of that cross street, but Linwood. And recently, you've got a water main break about 5 or 6 doors from her house. City fixed it. You can see the road patch there on the side of the road. her sump pump stopped working to the extent that it was. So 6 or 7 houses away, which brings me to my question. I don't know the number of Mr. Lannon's house at the corner of Linwood and Sugarloaf. He's had the same problem, not as bad, for 6 months. Staff was out. They did around his house, next door neighbor, street, Sugarloaf, all that kind of stuff. And now I'm wondering if, because his runs, I've seen it, it's like the cleanest water, like you brush your teeth, toothpaste with it. So I'm just wondering if people who are having these experiences, if what we need to do is expand the scope of what your team does very well with tracking. And I think when he had our guys were there some months ago, I think there's actually chlorine in his sump pump. And so I guess the real thing is not just for that homeowner, but is people who have running sumps, should they be calling the city, and that may be an inroad into finding a leak?
Through the mayor, just about I'll let Cassandra speak to the chlorine in the water main break and stuff like that. But if a sump pump is going 24/7 regularly, that doesn't typically do that, then I would say definitely contact us. There's a possibility that there's something that's changed. We could look into that. I don't think most sump pumps should be running 24/7. However, when the water table is up in that area, in that general area, yes, there is a lot of groundwater, and if there is an issues, you can contact our operations group, and we'd be glad to do a chlorine residual test. I'll let Cassandra speak to the other.
Thanks, Joe. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. So we're doing proactive leak detection. So we have invested heavily into our water loss program at the city. And one of the avenues that we're doing right now is going around with really advanced leak detection equipment now. And that is how we found those leaks. And we are doing that across the entire city right now. And that's how we're finding these. And we're finding multiple leaks a week now. So we'll be reporting some of those numbers back at budget time, and the program is working and fixing these leaks, and some of them are absolutely related. So we've known about that sump pump issue, and we had investigated it previously, and we couldn't find anything. So we have some new leak detection equipment that we procured this spring, and we used that, and that's when we were finally able to find it. So, which is really great. And then I think that one too, and I might be mixing up, but we actually ended up finding 2 leaks too, really close by. And so capturing both of those, stopping those, getting that water out of the ground, which also helps our I&I problems, right? And these running sump pumps. So we will hear from residents. They do call in when they notice an increase in their sump pump. Like Joe said, we do have a high groundwater table. So there are houses here with even multiple sump pumps that are running constantly. So it is hard to distinguish, but again, now that we have some of this advanced technology, we can see if it's related to a water main break. And often, when that water is running clear, now groundwater can be pretty clear too, but we can do a chlorine test to see if there's chlorine residual in that too, which helps figure that out. So,
Great, so that's great. So basically I can tell people anywhere that if they have their sump running a lot, there's now an expanded search area. Great, thank you. That's all I have.
Councillor Baggett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, first of all, I'd like to thank the citizens of Port Colborne for anybody that were a tree at the boulevard. Driving around town, I see trees all over the place with a green bag full of water, and it's great to see our residents get involved in our green cover so much again, and our workers, city workers, are doing great, plus the contractors, and doing a great job. The other thing, the issue, I guess, for the CAO, I forgot to email you, so I'll ask you in public. I don't mind. We were in Fort Erie for a joint meeting there, there was talk about our urgent care being closed on the Saturday of Canal Days. And I remember you said you were gonna look into it. Did you find out about that?
No, I don't, I don't believe it is closed. That would have been Fort Erie's on that. I believe ours is open the whole weekend. Actually, we received more information today. I'm gonna have comms jump in on this.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Niagara Health had an error on their initial calendar, so it is not closed on that day of Canal Days. And also, they told us today that it will also not be closed on Labor Day long weekend.
What a coincidence, Mr. Mayor. Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, one thing we have been pressing is our local doctors and doctors from across Niagara, both Mayor Redekop and I, with regards to stepping up, and if they have the training and they can step in and take some shifts here and there, and we have seen some of that. So they've been able to cover those dates. And Fort Erie's had a number of, I think, 3 or 4 dates covered for their closures. So kudos to those that have stepped up, and we just hope more step up and help us out in this, especially in the summer months, because they're even having issues with the emergency departments with getting emergency doctors in. So, but we continue to work on that. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Borgard? Councillor Aquilina?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the museum on Sunday, and I just wanted to congratulate staff for doing a really great job at the event. I'd also like to welcome Regional Councillor Badaway, and I look forward to having you in attendance in our upcoming meeting. So that's, welcomed. We haven't had a lot of presence in the past. And lastly, I would like to give kudos to Sun Resorts because the Canada Day long weekend was pleasantly non-eventful, like non-eventful. So that's the first time, I think, in quite a long time that there hasn't been like the heavy traffic on the roads. And from what I understand, a lot of the homeowners felt like a family resort again, like it used to be. So I think it was a good decision on their part to put those measures in place. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And it was a lot of work with our staff, our NRP, fire, to get that done, and basically me being very front and center last summer with the backing of council, because we know you were right there with it. But I mean, again, you're right. Kudos to them. They stepped up, and it came out well. I'm glad my phone didn't ring that whole long weekend, which was good. Quite frankly, until you mentioned it, I hadn't even thought about it because nothing happened, which is good. So, but you're right, and we'll continue to meet with them on a yearly basis with regards to anything we can do, what we see could be changed if something does happen that hasn't happened before. But again, between our fire and NRP, everything's been very good. So again, you're right. Kudos to them. Councillor Bruno does actually have a report he needs to give on FCM, so I'll go back to Councillor Bruno.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Not a lot to add from what was said by the CAO and the mayor last week. They basically covered everything. 2 things that I picked up on to add to what you already heard. One was at the trade show, we met a company from Calgary that has a very innovative building product. Really won't go any further than that. We talked to them on 2 different occasions, asked them to come to Port Colborne. One of their reps is in St. Catharines. He'll be here on Canal Days. They want to come and set up a meeting here, and a prospective, well, I shouldn't say that, a developer who's already about to build, so I've been told, is going to be using their product. And they would like to come to somewhere in southern Ontario, access to the US market, and they need a presence in Ontario. So they will be coming down to have a visit with us. I talked to them as early as today. Oddly enough, they mentioned that Port Colborne was talked about last night in the Calgary Stampede. A dinner party with Brian Burke was there, and they mentioned Port Colborne, and he said, oh, you know Port Colborne? Yeah, we'll have some land here. It's a great place to invest. So that just oddly enough added to, hopefully this company will at least give a shot at us, and they need an industrial park piece of land. So we'll see. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. The other one I have is that it was interest to me is, and we all know AI is on the rise. WSP, the consulting firm, for the life of me, I can't remember the community. Their reps were there. Bottom line was they installed digital assistants for their customer service, not in place of customer service. So what they did was it takes the phone calls when City Hall isn't open. And what they learned was that 50% of their total phone calls came after hours. Once the residents knew that there was an ability to get information after hours. So in this city, the study proved that they spend $16 to $32 a call doing it. So that's staff time handling it all. The AI digital assistant, it's 75 cents per call. They only use it after hours, and it's trained to answer questions like building permit issues. Where do I get this? I want to build a fence, all that stuff. I want to book arena. All this kind of like, I'll call them low-level questions. But as these digital, it costs $92,000 to put 21 in. And they answer, and they get spit out a report when customer service comes in. Here's who we talked to last night. Here was their question. Here was the resolution. If AI couldn't answer the question, it automatically says, sorry, you're going to need more help. We advise you to call back in the morning. Here's the extension. Here's who the department. Here's who to call to. So I'm not saying it's for now, but it's an interesting idea that maybe they could do a study. And you know, if you take 50% of the load off customer service in the daytime, they can do either more work on the customer service calls that they have, or you redeploy those people to another job. It's not meant to eliminate people. But I found it fascinating that somebody's tried it. That's the result after a year, and they're getting more and more. And I believe it's a Microsoft program. And so I'll pass that on to the CAO for customer service and corporate service people. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor. On to our next item, which is item 16, motions. We have Councillor Bodner for his open air burning bylaw and public nuisance bylaw. So I'm gonna get this on the floor right away for you, Councillor. Is that fine? Okay, so if I could have Councillors Bodner and Aquilina move, whereas there have been recent reports of open air burning at all hours of the day and night, which have caused disturbance to residents. Therefore, be it resolved that the fire chief and bylaw staff be directed to investigate and bring forward a report for council's consideration regarding possible amendments to the open air burning bylaw, as well as possible amendments and or a complete review of the public nuisance bylaw. Councillor Bodner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think each councillor received a letter from one of the people that are bothered by this and have been for well over a year. Probably more, 2 years, yeah. And so I want to make it clear that I'm not interested in revising the open air burning bylaw. I haven't personally had complaints from anybody. I think it seems to be working very well. I don't want to screw that up just to fix some bad actors that are doing something. And I'd like staff, if it needs to be put in the open air burning bylaw, that's great, but I really don't want that change to penalize people that are using it well and enjoying it. So maybe in the public nuisance bylaw, it could be looked at, but I'll leave that for brighter people than me that we have on staff. So Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Further questions to what Counselor Bodnar has asked? We actually did have a good conversation with Acting Chief Morgan Alcock about a year ago now, 8 months ago. And just his quick conversation with us was, it was more of a timing issue. Ours was very similar to Wainfleet's bylaw, but they had times when you could start and stop, as opposed to being allowed to go 24 hours with an open fire. So I think you'll see that, but yeah, and I know you've talked to our chief with regards to it, so I'm sure that'll come back. So any further questions on it? All in favor? That's carried. Any notices of motion? Okay. Bylaws, we have so bylaws 18.1 through to 18.6. Excuse me. If I could have Councilors Hoyle and Danch move that the following, those bylaws be passed and enacted as presented. My voice here. Questions on any of the bylaws? All in favor? Carried. Losing my voice. If I could have Councilors Bruno and Baggio move that council do now proceed to meet closed session at 9:21 p.m. under the Municipal Act 2001, subsections 239B, where a closed session meeting is held if the subject matter being considered is about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Subsection 239E, where a closed session meeting is held if the subject matter being considered is litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Subsections 239F, where a closed session meeting is held for the subject matter being considered as advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Subsection 239I, where a closed session meeting is held if the subject matter being considered is a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. Questions? All in favor? That's carried. We'll now move into closed session in committee room